didn't fall in love with her the moment I met her. That would have been easier. I fell in love with her slowly, while convincing myself I didn't have the right to. Because from the very beginning, she made one thing clear. We're just friends. I remember the first time she said it. Someone asked if we were together, and she laughed. Not awkwardly, not nervously, just naturally. "Oh no," she said, smiling. "He's my best friend." I smiled too, because at the time, I thought that was enough. We met through mutual friends, but it didn't take long before it was just the two of us. Late-night conversations. Long walks with no destination. Text messages that never felt forced. She knew my routines, my moods, the things I never told anyone else, and I knew hers. That's how it starts, quietly. People around us assumed there was something more. Strangers would ask if we were a couple. Friends would joke about it. Every time she corrected them, every time I stayed silent. Not because I agreed, but because I was afraid of losing what we already had. I told myself a lot of lies back then. I told myself I didn't mind. I told myself friendship was enough. I told myself feelings like that fade if you ignore them long enough. They don't. They wait. She dated other guys. She told me everything about them. The ones who didn't text back. The ones who said the wrong things. The ones who almost felt right, but never quite did. I listened. I supported her. I gave advice that hurt to give. And every time she said, "I don't know why this never works out," I wondered why she never looked at me. There were moments that blurred the line. Her falling asleep on my shoulder during movies. Her hand grabbing mine when she laughed too hard. The way she always called me first when something went wrong. If someone else did those things, it would have meant something. With her, it meant confusion. One night while we were driving with the windows down, she said something that stuck with me. "I don't know what I'd do without you." I didn't answer, because I knew what I would do without her, and I didn't want to imagine it. I never planned to cross the line. I never planned to confess my feelings. I never planned for anything to change. But there's a moment, always, when pretending becomes impossible. For me, that moment came on a night she called me after midnight and said, "Can you come over? I don't really want to be alone right now." I said yes without thinking, and that was the night everything stopped being just friendship. I knew I should have said no, not because I didn't want to see her, but because I knew what that night could turn into if I let myself stop pretending. But when she called, her voice was different, quieter, careful, like she was holding something together with both hands. So I drove over. When I arrived, she didn't hug me like usual. She just stepped aside and let me in. The apartment lights were low. No music, no TV, just silence and the faint glow from the city outside the window. She sat on the couch, knees pulled up, staring at nothing. I asked what was wrong. She shrugged. "I'm just tired," she said. Not physically, emotionally. Sat down next to her. Close but not touching. We talked about nothing at first. Random things. Work. A movie we both hated. The kind of conversation you have when you're avoiding the real one. At some point she leaned against me. Not suddenly. Not dramatically. Just enough for me to feel the weight of her head on my shoulder. I froze. This wasn't new, but it felt different. Her breathing slowed. Her hand rested on my arm. I didn't move, because moving meant choosing. She started talking about how lonely she felt, about how tired she was of feeling like an option, about how everyone she liked eventually disappointed her. I wanted to say, "I'm right here," but I stayed quiet. Because if I said it out loud, I wouldn't be able to take it back. She turned toward me. Our faces were close enough that I could feel her breath when she spoke. "Do you ever feel like you're stuck?" she asked. I nodded. "Yeah." She held my gaze longer than usual. That's when I realized we weren't dancing around the line anymore. We were standing on it. She leaned in first, slowly, carefully, giving me time to stop her. I didn't. The kiss wasn't desperate. It wasn't rushed. It felt like something that had been waiting for permission. And when I kissed her back, every thought I'd spent months burying came rushing to the surface. That night wasn't about passion. It was about release. About finally admitting what we both had been pretending wasn't there. Afterwards, she lay next to me, quiet, her head resting on my chest. I stared at the ceiling, afraid to move, afraid that if I did, the moment would disappear. For the first time, I let myself believe something, that maybe I hadn't imagined it, that maybe I wasn't just her friend, that maybe all those moments had been leading here. I wanted to ask her what this meant. I didn't, because I was scared of the answer. She fell asleep before I did. I lay there awake, replaying everything. The kiss, her voice, the way she held on to me like she didn't want to let go. I told myself this was the beginning, that she finally saw me. I had no idea how wrong I was. In the morning, she was already up, dressed, composed, different. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Did you sleep okay?" she asked. I nodded. She didn't come closer, didn't touch me. That's when the fear started. As I was getting ready to leave, she hesitated. "I don't want things to be weird," she said. The word hit harder than I expected. Weird, not important, not real, just weird. I told her they wouldn't be. I lied. When I walked out, the air felt heavier than when I arrived, because deep down, I knew something. Whatever that night was for me, for her, it might have already been over. I knew something was wrong the moment I got home. Not because she said anything, because she didn't. No message. No "did you make it back okay?" No joke. No follow-up. No acknowledgement of what happened between us. Just silence. At first, I told myself she needed time. That maybe she was processing everything the same way I was. But deep down, I already knew. People don't go quiet when something means something to them. They go quiet when they're trying to move past it. The days after, I waited. 1 day, 2 days, almost a week. Our conversations changed shape. She still replied, but slower. Shorter. Careful, like every word was being filtered before it reached me. No emojis. No late-night messages. No warmth. It felt like watching someone slowly close a door while smiling and pretending nothing had changed. When I finally asked, I couldn't live in the uncertainty anymore. So I asked her. Not dramatically, not emotionally, just honest. "Can we talk about what happened?" She took hours to respond. Then she said yes, the conversation that broke me. We met in the same place we always did. A quiet cafe where we had spent countless afternoons laughing, planning nothing, talking about everything. This time, it felt like a courtroom. She sat across from me, hands wrapped around her cup, eyes fixed on the table. I asked her what that night meant. She exhaled slowly before answering. "I don't think it meant the same thing to me as it did to you." That sentence rewrote everything. Her side of the story, she told me she had been overwhelmed, lonely, confused, emotionally exhausted. She said I felt safe. That being with me felt familiar. And in that moment, she wanted comfort, not commitment. She said it gently, like she knew exactly how much it would hurt. "I never wanted to hurt you," she said. That's when I realized something cruelly ironic. She didn't want to hurt me. She just didn't want to choose me either. When I finally admitted, I told her the truth. That I hadn't just crossed a line that night. I had been standing on it for months. That every time she said, "We're just friends," I pretended it didn't hurt. That I stayed because I hoped one day she'd see me differently. She listened. And for the first time, she looked uncomfortable. Not guilty, just aware. The line she couldn't cross. She looked at me and said, "I don't feel that way about you." Not angrily, not cruelly, just honestly. She said she cared about me deeply, that she didn't want to lose me, but she couldn't give me what I wanted. And that night didn't change that. The moment I understood everything, that's when it finally clicked. I wasn't her best friend. I wasn't her almost boyfriend. I was her emotional safety net, the place she landed when things fell apart elsewhere. And once she felt steady again, she didn't need me the same way. Why we could not stay friends? She asked if we could go back to how things were. I wanted to say yes, but I couldn't, because you can't unknowingly love someone and then unlove them on command. And you can't pretend a line doesn't exist once you've crossed it. I told her that staying friends would hurt me. She nodded, like she had expected that answer. The goodbye that was made dramatic. We didn't hug. We didn't argue. We just stood up, said goodbye, and walked in opposite directions. No promises to stay in touch. No false hope. Just an ending that felt too quiet for how much it hurt. The aftermath losing her didn't feel like heartbreak at first. It felt like withdrawal. I kept reaching for my phone to text her about things she used to be the first to hear. Then I'd remember and stop. What took me the longest to accept I wasn't wrong for loving her, but I was wrong for staying silent. I confused patience with loyalty, hope with reality. I thought waiting was noble. It wasn't. It was self-abandonment. The final realization, some people don't come into your life to stay. They come to teach you what it feels like to give more than you should, and why you shouldn't do it again. Final line, very important. If someone only chooses you when they're lonely, they're not choosing you. They're choosing the comfort you provide.